So I feel the pressure. Absolutely. I'm glad I'm not on Wheel of Fortune or any of the game shows.
Welcome to Experience Points, presented by our friends at Avtex who transform customer experience through CX design and orchestration. On Experience Points, contestants earn points by answering customer experience questions and share their insights on how to make your interactions remarkable. Those points turn into dollars for the charity of their choosing. I'm Joey Coleman.
And I'm Dan Gingiss, and we'd love to introduce you to today's contestant.
Jason S. Bradshaw is the Chief Customer and Marketing Officer at Volkswagen Group Australia and the former head of customer experience for Target Australia. He also is a professional speaker and the author of It's All About Sex, but that's CEX, the essential guide to customer and employee experience. Jason, welcome to the program.
Thanks so much, Dan and Joey, for having me on. I can't wait to win some money for my charity and hopefully get the enough answers right to make a meaningful difference.
Oh, I love it, Jason. Well, speaking of your charity, you're going to be playing for a very special organization today. Could you tell us a little bit about who you're playing for and why you've decided to play for this organization?
So the organization that I've chosen is the Trevor Project, who work with young LGBTQ individuals who are at risk, helping them at the time of their greatest need. And I think that more so now than ever, thanks to the pandemic, people are feeling a greater sense of loneliness and hopelessness. And the Trevor Project is doing great work with LGBTQ youth to help them navigate their journey in life.
Outstanding. Super excited for that. How about we win them some money? What do you say, Jason?
Absolutely.
All right, we're going to start with our first game. It's called Fake or Fact.
In Fake or Fact, examine 3 similar experiences. Some are real, some are not. Your task is to determine the fake from the fact. Each experience correctly detected is worth 100 points. 3 correct answers will earn you 200 bonus points for a possible score of 500 points.
Are you ready to get started?
I'm a little bit nervous, but absolutely, bring it on.
All right, Jason. So with email being such a ubiquitous part of our everyday lives, many people have to deal with messages arriving while they're out of the office or taking vacation. Enter the out of office message, a way to auto-generate a reply that lets the sender know you won't be getting back to them right away. Now we're going to present 3 sample out of office autoresponder messages for you to consider. I'll share all 3 and then you'll get to decide whether each one is fake or fact. Let's start with the first one. It starts, "G'day, gorgeous. For the next 3 days, I'm enjoying a digital detox, time away from email, devices, and social media. I love doing these from time to time to reset my brain, focus on strategic work, and ensure I am paying attention to what is most important. Your email is important to me and I'm delighted to reply on Friday. If you need anything urgently, please email my assistant Sue and she'll be happy to help you. Have a wonderful day, enjoy this magnificent weather, and remember to create a moment for someone today." Now that's the first one. We'll come back to all 3 and get your answers. The second one, "I'm on vacation until August 23rd. If you need to reach me, travel to my homeland of Florida. On the highest peak of the tallest mountain, you'll find a rare flower. When you understand that flower, you'll know how to reach me. Trust me, you'll know. If you want to make sure your message gets a response ASAP when I return, please send it again on August 23rd. And here comes the third out of office message. "Mustache me a question? Well, you'll have to shave it for later. You've cut it too close to Christmas. I'm out of the office enjoying a bit of R&R with the family for the next few days. If you can't stand to think about the next few days without me, you can watch a video of me shaving here." All right, those are the 3 potential out-of-office responders. It's time for you to decide whether each one is fake or fact. Let's go back to the first one, which starts with "G'day, gorgeous." Now, Jason, as you decide whether this is fake or fact, we'd love to know any of your thinking behind your decision.
So, I feel like you've already thrown me a curveball. I remember the first time I went to America, I was sitting at a bar and someone said that, you got to say g'day, mate. You got to say g'day, mate. Now, I never use that in Australia. I never use it at all. But, considering the first one started with g'day, I was thinking, maybe you're either throwing me an easy one or you're trying to put me off. I'm a little bit unsure, but I'm going to go with fact.
All right. So why do you think fact, Jason?
Because it's got that nice mix of being human and real, but still giving people a sense of assistance and trying to add some joy to their day. I think whoever wrote it, whether it's true or not, is just trying to bring some happiness to people's day for a fairly mundane email.
All right, well, let's see whether you are correct. In fact, it is your fellow Aussie, Neen James, and her out-of-office message. Those of you watching today may remember Neen. She is a former guest contestant on Experience Points. And so, yes, that g'day was genuine. And yes, we intentionally put her in there since we knew you would be the contestant. So great job, Jason. You got that one right. All right, let's look at the second one. This is about Florida and a flower, and you'll know how to reach me. It's definitely got me thinking a little bit. What do you think?
I actually wrote down fact, but I feel this is just maybe a little bit too bold. The top of a mountain in Florida. Now, I don't know my geography very well in Australia, and then now you're getting me to think about Florida. Now, the last time I was in Florida was at a Disney property, and there were mountains there, but none of those were real. So
It could have been a flower at the top of Space Mountain or the Matterhorn. I'm just saying, Jason.
I'm going to go with fact again, for no other reason than it's just too bold. Let's just see if I can get 3 in a row.
Well, I was going to say, before we show you the answer, I will tell you that what we've learned from other contestants on this show is go with your gut, because your gut is almost always right. You almost talked yourself out of it, Jason, but it actually is fact. It is the out-of-office message from Sam Mallikarjunan, who is the co-founder and chief executive officer of OneScreen.ai. And he had this out-of-office message actually when he worked at HubSpot, but it was indeed a very genuine and real out-of-office message. Jason, so far, you are 2 for 2. You are handling this game absolutely perfectly. Let's try for the third and final out-of-office message. Now, this one obviously has a shaving theme. We've got the reference to the mustache. You'll have to shave it for later. You're cutting it too close. We got one pun after the other here. What did you think of this one?
So I feel the pressure. Absolutely. I'm glad I'm not on Wheel of Fortune or any of the game shows. And Dan, you said to go with your gut, and what I wrote down was fake ? Because and then when you put it back up, I'm like, is that something someone at $1 Shave Club has used? Because it seems like it'd be great for this. So I'm going to actually change what I'd written down and go with fact, because I think it's absolutely aligned with $1 Shave Club or someone in that region. And
so you changed it to fact, and in fact, you are correct. It is the founder of Supply.co, an online store for razors and shaving supplies, Patrick Cadu. Well done, Jason. Well done. We tried to get you with that one, but you were having none of it.
I love it. Jason, I am impressed. You went 3 for 3 on the fake or fact. Let's pull up a little bit from the discussion of the specific out-of-office responders and instead talk a little bit about how these can be representative of the brand spirit or the brand experience. Could you talk a little bit about how important it is to infuse some personality into the communications you have with your customers, even if it's something as innocuous as an out-of-office responder?
Well, we know that people love doing business with organizations that they feel part of. Human connection is one of the areas that build an emotional connection, a trust, a loyalty with a brand. And I think every touch point that a organization can show that they're not a machine, but rather someone with a personality. And I think businesses and brands do certainly have a personality, that the more consistent that they can be with that personality, even with things like an out-of-office reply, just reinforces that know, like, and trust factor with an individual. And some absolutely witty examples there that reinforce that it's okay to have personality in business, and that done well can reinforce the brand promise, what the brand stands for. And I think that's perfect.
Jason, I like to say there's no law that says your business has to be boring, and communications in whatever format are such a great opportunity to show that your company has some sort of personality, as you say. And that might be witty and fun, it could be clever, it could just be laid back, but at least it does bring a human element. And yeah, we showed you out of office responders today, but really this could apply to almost any communication channel that you have, where things maybe are supposed to be dull and boring, but that doesn't mean that your company has to follow in that direction.
And I think that it absolutely reinforces the intentionality of these organizations. If an organization is going to have so much intention with something as mundane as an out-of-office response, how are they going to look after me on the really important things, on the stuff that matters to me? So, ways to reinforce that intentionality, taking action with purpose, is absolutely key, and reinforced in what we just saw.
Jason, I couldn't agree more. We talk a lot on Experience Points about the opportunity to take the required elements of your business and make them remarkable. And every business has emails, every business has voice messages, we have out-of-office responders, we have invoices, we have the communiques that are just part of the day-to-day aspect of our business. Sometimes leaders feel anxious about giving their team members too much freedom to be creative, or too long of a leash, if you will, to run out and try new things. Could you talk about your experience as a customer experience practitioner in giving your team and giving the folks that have worked in the various organizations you've helped out to have that kind of freedom or that autonomy to try new things when it comes to the interactions they have with customers?
Well, I think first and foremost, you have to set a really clear North Star. And what is that North Star that can be turned into a question to help guide a decision-making process? So there's an airline here in Australia called Virgin Australia, and they launched a program where they were promising to make flying joyfully simple. Now, the way that I like to look at that is every single employee in the organization, if they're faced with a question to serve a customer, if they say to themselves, will this make flying joyfully simple? And if the answer is yes, then whatever action they're taking is aligned to that North Star, and the company should encourage and reinforce and certainly celebrate that action that the person says. The opposite is, of course, if they say, no, this action won't make flying joyfully simple, danger sign, stop what you're doing and reevaluate. And so in all the organizations I've worked at, it's about having that really clear North Star, giving people permission to live by that North Star, which is really important. And then obviously live by example. I think it's really important. Talking of out-of-office replies, I attended an event at UCLA a few years back now. And one of the lessons in that was actually around out-of-office replies. And so I've changed my out-of-office replies without saying anything to my team, just literally changed it. In my out-of-office reply now, it says, something along the lines of, if I'm on leave, however, all of my department managers are superstars, so they will be able to assist you. Every one of my department managers have now changed their out-of-office replies as well. And the number of emails that I get from people saying, oh, I love your out-of-office reply. And it purely is just living by example and saying what matters most. And what matters most to me is, of course, is our employee and customer experience. So set that really clear North Star, make sure everyone understands it, and make it simple. Make it a sentence, not, 3 pages long, hoping that people will remember it verbatim and then, get stressed that they've forgotten it, so they just do nothing because they can't remember it.
Yeah, very well said, Jason. I'm reminded of, when I share customer experience examples, I have a North Star, a filter that I use, which this fits perfectly into, which is that they have to be simple, practical, and inexpensive. And it makes it so much easier for me to look at an example and say, is this something I want to share with somebody else that they can be inspired by? And if so, is it simple, practical, and inexpensive? Changing your out of office message is all three of those. It's one of these things you could do in 30 seconds and have a drastic impact. And I too have had a similar experience. I remember having an out of office message. The subject line was, I'm chillaxing for a week. And man, did I get a lot of responses from people saying, I love your out of office message. And I was really I wasn't trying to be funny. I just was sort of being myself, and people really took to it. So as we said before, there's no law that says that you have to be boring. Okay, Joey, let's recap how Jason did playing Fake or Fact.
Well, in this game, correct answers are worth 100 points, and Jason answered all 3 questions correctly, which means he earned 300 points. Now, fantastically, that also means he earned the 200 bonus points for getting every question right. These points convert to dollars, which means Jason earned $500 for a donation to the Trevor Project. Congratulations, Jason.
Fantastic. I'm wanting to bring it on again. Let's win some more money for the Trevor Project.
That concludes this episode of Experience Points. Check out more games with Jason and our other celebrity contestants at experiencepointsgame.com. That's experiencepointsgame.com. We'll see you soon for more examples of remarkable customer experiences here on Experience Points, brought to you by Avtex.
Well, I will say that it's funny, when you joined the organization, you had some pretty good out of office emails that really stuck with me in terms of just showing a little bit of personality, and I loved it. And it was the first time, I think, ever I'd really seen somebody just own an out of office email by saying, "Hey, thanks for your email. I bet it was great." But it exuded who you are as a person, and I think that it's an interesting commentary on, and one of the things they talked about is just being authentic and being yourself, but that's not a place where people feel comfortable being themselves.
Well, and so I think there's this concept, and there's a fascinating book written about, it's called The Human Brand. And it talks about, we as individuals have our own brands that we cultivate. And, sometimes when we get in the work world, we leave our personalities at the door. And everyone has their own human brand. Everyone wants to be engaging with each other. And so, kind of that stuffy, stoic, out of office, reply is, I think, symptomatic of, quite frankly, the lack of creativity that some organizations promote within, to their employees. And so I think that's just representative of what happens when the guardrails are so tight,
right,
that people, there's no room for creativity, there's no room for expression, there's no room for humor, there's no room for doing anything but what the policy says.